Psalm 73:26. My heart may fail, and my spirit may grow weak, but God remains the strength of my heart. He is mine forever. God's love came to me in a quiet room in the inpatient ward of the Linden Oaks Mental Hospital. I had paper placed over my mirror when I came. For 3 weeks, I didn't see my own reflection. Christ to me was a short Palestinian man. The dilapidated version of the King James Bible they had in our rolling library returned an old friend to me. Memories of lighting candles on Sunday when I was barely tall enough to reach. I could feel arms around me, holding this unlovable thing close. Mark 7:20-23. For from within, out of the heart of man, come evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, coveting, wickedness, deceit, sensuality, envy, slander, pride, foolishness. All of these evil things come from within, and they defile a person. Ephesians 4:22-24. Put off your old self, which belongs to your former manner of life and is corrupt through deceitful desires, and to be renewed in the spirit of your minds. Put on the new self, created after the likeness of God in righteousness and holiness. And so, when the time came to pass, that the paper was lifted off my mirror once more, the face that greeted it was blank. I was a devout Christian for 19 of my 22 years, most avidly after I lost my will to live. I have felt guilty for the majority of them. I could draw the connection there. Guilt, shame, whatever word you use to describe the predestined sense of doom the birth of a sinner entails, it was thrust onto me the moment they put me under the water. The first time you hear a perfect being died for you to be better than you are. Maybe that's why I came up crying. What does an infant know about holiness?
A mixture of inborn adrenaline lust and a latent yet unknown craving for something to cleanse me took me to interesting places often for a moment in my life.
John 1:9. If we confess our sins, He is faithful and just, and will forgive us our sins and purify us from all unrighteousness. In a fever dream in March of 2024, I lost a piece of myself at the abandoned Belle Isle Zoo in Detroit. A stranger took me and a 40-ounce to climb on the dilapidated gazebos and glass that once held the day's crowds, to turn it into the sort of dirty playground some places become. At the end of the bottle, we sat out overlooking the sounds of water and laughter a few overgrown paths away. I've been talking to this stranger for a few weeks. Some long-winded conversations about morality and the purpose of life that only two armchair philosophers could stomach. Ex-Christian and ex-Catholic grief collided in a dusty brown and red stained glass portrait. My sect of Christianity never had what the Catholics call confession, but I always envied it. The heaviness in my soul dug deeper than leaving the church could amend, hung in the air like an unfinished conversation. My body was fueled by alcohol, the feeling that I could wake up at any moment, me, my stranger, and our dirty church gone like smoke. I felt my fingers shake in the dust of the abandoned structure. No priest knows the worst thing I've ever done. The two animals in the zoo that day do. John 1:8. If we say we have no sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. To be forgiven is an intersection of past, present, and future. Every mistake you have made, are currently making, and will make. A realization must be made that no matter how hard you apply yourself, you will never embody what you love in perfection. You will attempt it and fail, betray it, do things that it will never forgive, feel it twist in you for years after. How does someone face that reality and not feel dirty? Later that same day, I decided to pick up a piece of dirty porcelain and smash it on the concrete. It gouged out a sizable chunk of my finger on the way down, leaving it on the ground. I sat, fading in and out of consciousness, the mess wrapped in a shred of their t-shirt, and in a state as close to the blissful mindlessness of heaven I could imagine. That was the only heaven I could imagine. There, in the wood dust and shattered glass, somehow felt the cleanest I'd ever been. Jeremiah 17:9. The heart is deceitful above all things, and desperately sick. Who can understand it? Intentions have always been one of the hardest parts of making peace with my imperfection. I judge mine for their multifaceted nature. I know there to be lust in my love, greed in my kindness, wrath in my righteousness. Other people's I fear for what I know my own to be at times, the ones seen in half-second expressions or worse, the ones that never show. I want so badly to be able to reassure myself that whatever I'm doing, I'm being led by the right ones. I remember searching for answers in a book written by Harry G. Frankfurt. His take on some of the thoughts of Immanuel Kant stuck with me. Quote, "We are frequently mistaken, not only about the motives of others, but about our own as well. Thus it is only very rarely, if ever, that we can legitimately be confident that a person is really acting for sake of duty. In other words, that he is being moved to act by respect for impersonal moral imperative, rather than by some private inclination or desire."
Proverbs 3, 5, 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. In many ways, I believe God to be a sort of pressure valve for everything that makes life difficult. You're afraid of what life has in store. Trust in God's plan. You're not sure what values to center your life around. God has them. You've done something you can never make peace with. God has already forgiven you. You feel nothing you do will ever be enough. Say these prayers, and you will atone, and atone, and atone. Sacrilegiously, I always felt there's something missing in this godly forgiveness. If I repeatedly ask God for permission to be, to fuck up, to think and feel impure thoughts that come no matter how hard I wish them away, that damn me by mere appearance in my mind, when do I ever learn to accept myself? Been given bread and fishes, but I never learned to fish. I asked a friend of mine once, a Bible study leader. He didn't like the question. He was adamant. Quote, "My forgiveness doesn't matter. God is the final judge." In this we agree. Human judgment is imperfect. Of the things that Sunday school taught me, striving for non-judgment is one I can reason a value for. My perspective is short-sighted and subject to my own experiences and values of which no one has asked to be subjected to, even myself. All of the things I judge a passerby for, I apply to myself, tenfold in most scenarios. I find that the most judgmental people are also some of the most miserable in their own passions. Still, judgment. We are creatures made for it. It is coded in our DNA as much as it is to eat, fuck, dance, do every gross yet beautiful thing this kind of animal does. It will always be in us, and for better or for worse, it will be reflected on us and those we love. I couldn't help but think that his focus, though, on what comes after this life, neglected the tension I see grip his body when he's done something unholy. The tension I knew he'd felt 1,000,000 times over as he assigned heaven light or hellfire to just his thoughts. I recognized it well, though it took me years to notice the knot in my own mind. The shit thing is, I think that might be the exact opposite of what Christ, the guy even, maybe not the Son of God, would want. I think deifying him removed the very human essence of the acknowledgement that people are undoubtedly, unchangingly, beautifully dirty.
Everyone has done something unforgivable. Every person's mind conjures some action or thought when asked, "What will you never forgive yourself for?" Whether I can't, or your mom can't, or your bus driver can't, that matters in a different way. Depending on how heinous and or public your deed is may determine who you're around, where you live, who you're smoking with at this show, whether your ex talks shit about you. But as much as we focus on it, all that kind of palls in comparison to what your mind will resolve about these things. Do you deserve them? Have you changed such that you deserve better? Do you believe it is possible to change from what made you do this? Whatever it is, if you cannot forgive yourself in this life, you will create your own hell. You have done unforgivable things. You are not unforgivable. Hey, I don't know anybody listening, if there's anyone at all. Maybe you fucking killed someone. But I'd hasten to say that the majority of people I know who hate themselves so fundamentally focus so little energy on the good they put in the world for the unique intersection of what they strive for and what they are naturally. They may not even be able to perceive the impact they have on those around them. We are complicated. Still, I strongly believe that the net positive of these lives is, 9 times out of 10, worth whatever harm they've put on the world. Hurting and being hurt is part of this experience. So is loving and being loved. The inevitability of either does not define what a human is made for. They do. Back to Frankfurt. There was a piece of the book I had been unable to internalize, even angry enough to put it down at the time I read it. Quote, "Morality tells us less of what we need to know about what we should value and how we should live than is commonly presumed. Even when it does have something relevant to say, it does not necessarily have the last word with regard to our interest in the sensible management of those aspects of our lives. The longer I live, the more I doubt I know exactly what right and wrong are. I have a hell of a hard time believing that a mistranslated second to third hand account of a 2,000-year-old sermon, greased and defiled with the fingerprints of men just as flawed as me, does either. I agonize so often over whether or not I'm upholding the greatest good without ever questioning that I believe that I, some dude, know exactly what everyone needs from me. Christ is not a white guy from the suburbs, no matter how transgender he is. The closest thing to clarity I get is a squirming in my stomach akin to seeing a maggot when I do something to hurt someone who didn't deserve it. Everybody has that feeling. As long as you follow up on it with yourself, ask why you're twisting inside instead of just letting it eat you, you'll start to understand why it's gnawing. You did something. You don't like the way that it feels. Why? What do you want to put in the world that this betrays? I'm serious. Ask it. Talk to it. Data about what you don't want to do is just as valuable as what you do. It's the only way to learn, no matter how painful it is. But why does that feeling exist in what I have for breakfast? Why I chose my socks? Whether I skateboard or roller skate? If I get so bold as to show an ounce of vulnerability? Why is it there when I feel the slightest bit of pride in the life I've worked so fucking hard to love? Guilt is a feeling that you have done something that goes against your bearing. Guilt can be a constructive emotion. It is a freeing thing to realize you can do something once and never again. However, James 2:10. Whoever keeps the whole law and yet stumbles at just one point is guilty of breaking all of it. Shame is a feeling that you are fundamentally wrong. It worms itself into the things you know you'll never feel peace with. Your things you're very careful with whom you share, if you tell anybody. The things you cannot abandon as part of the past from which you've learned or can atone for. I think this is why Christianity almost always fails to allow you to feel forgiven longer than the moment you pray. It gives you a reason that you feel the pain of conflict between the conscious mind and an animal body, the separation from a greatest good you can conceptually understand but never reach. It feigns that it will save you from this, that there is anyone who can save you from this, that you will be lifted out of your flesh prison and shed the weight of your humanity like skin. But the duality of our being, of our mind and our flesh, is a privilege of this kind of impermanent existence. There is forever to be dead, only now to be alive. You know what? There is something wrong with me. I made a long list of the traits in myself I do not admire. At another point in my life, this may well have been something I started a fight with the mirror about. Now, though, seeing my imperfections laid out so plainly, I feel a blanketing sense of relief. To look yourself in the eyes, you can't deny the things you don't feel pride in. You must understand them as part of a whole lovable thing.
You will have to be forgiven over and over and over again. That forgiveness, though, doesn't need to be for not being a version of yourself that will never exist. I am an animal, and I will love myself for it, not in spite of it. The reality is that the constant cycle of reflection and learning is actually part of what makes this whole experience so beautiful, so worth being here for. Would you leave your best friend for the insecurity that fuels their anger? Would you skip summer to avoid the sweat? 4 summers after Jesus found me, and 2 after I left the church, made a long list of the types of values that I recognize as things I wanted to care for. No matter how many religions, spiritualities, parents, or preachers try, the way the compass points true north will only make any real sense to you. There's a clear influence from my Christian upbringing. You can make an argument that half of this list is just a restatement of Ephesians 4. The outlier lies in one of the deadliest sins: pride. Pride, though, does not need to make someone feel superior, not to God, human, or anything else. When done well, pride is balanced with humility, the understanding that you are a collage of everyone and everything you've ever had the privilege to love. But to allow yourself to take ownership of the positive influence you have on the world as a direct result of the love that you feel for it, to call that a sin is just disrespectful.
I do believe it is important to recognize that your desire to do good is good, but not to the point that helping becomes more about you than the thing you aim to help. Thus is one of the values of humility. Fear of losing sight of these virtues I strive for still pervades my mind. I know I don't know all good virtues, let alone how to cultivate them. But I trust now that, as in all people, these virtues lie dormant in me, waiting for the moment I or someone I love need them. For once, I'm not acting out of fear of the fire. I started listening to the things I could feel humming when I tended to my community or stepped into a creek. There is always some vague sense of calling when you start to listen. This summer, I took a trip with some friends. I sat in the small living room of my family's cabin, permanently on a list atop the dune on which it was built 111 years ago. It's been righted twice in that time, yet always finds its way to the left. Golden air illuminated a St. John's wort tincture I'd made in the kitchen I cooked for my friends in, that my family had cooked for theirs through generational summers as sand-worn footballs rolled unprompted from one end to another. In the bedroom, I hear 2 of the closest people in the world to me laughing, another 2 down on the beach I played with my family on as a child. I am almost every kind of sinner I have ever feared I was, and yet, still, I am more loved than I ever could have imagined. God's forgiveness could never heal me because I had never forgiven myself. I could not believe I could live well, love well, that I could uphold the virtues I hold so dear without a spirit moving me to do so. In many such cases, I see the same fear in followers of Christ. I mean no disrespect. I understand that fear and the need for guidance. Humbling yourself and knowing that the soul is always in need of growth is, in my opinion, virtuous. I would argue, however, that being encouraged to submit to this fear and water it, rather than trust in my ability to learn from the people around me and live as witness to my values, whether or not it, quote, feels good to the flesh, took me to a place of distrust for myself that could only be healed by leaving the church. Your inclinations, the ways you decide to act, is a necessary part of keeping your soul alive. You need to understand how they balance in your life. You need to know that the, quote, you can do no wrong mentality the internet pseudotherapists represent won't hold up in real life. Some of the ways you act will cost you things you wish they didn't, but that doesn't necessarily make your actions wrong. You may learn from them, see how altering a future course may better your survival. After all, that's what learning was meant to do in the first place. Survival just means something different to a sapient animal. Survival of the soul requires an understanding that not everyone will be cool with you, quote, being yourself. Being yourself will not always yield the best outcome. But those values and inclinations that are yourself are not a static thing. You're allowed to adjust these sliders, which are, in themselves, unique to the moment and circumstance. And honestly, it's good to have goals, things you work for, things you aim to be. But you can't get so lost in the sauce on trying to be something that you forget that you're allowed to just be. There is no perfection. There never will be perfection. Sometimes, being as honest with yourself as you possibly can be about why you do something is all you can expect. But when you wash your body with the care of somebody who loves it rather than just resides in it, when you look at yourself with the love of someone who reminds you why this species shares food, when holy is a word reserved for breaking bread with friends, and hell is only a loss of bearing on a long and magnetic road, you are forgiven. I know I said I wouldn't say anything about the forgiveness of others, but I don't think I can just ignore it and feel right about it. Maybe that's another video, but for now, my Nana is my favorite Christian. My God may be a heron, and hers that same man whose hands I saw guiding mine. I feel, though, that if either of us were to see the other, we'd recognize them. This is to me because we are the same. Some piece of both of us recognizes that beyond blood, a part of my soul is hers as hers is mine. The same carbon that creates the beautiful white of her eyelashes plumes the snowy egret. As animals with such awareness, it is not just our responsibility, but our honor, to love as much as we can. As you learn to forgive yourself, do not forget the value of forgiving others and the world around you in all of its beautiful imperfection. Love is not achieved in perfection, it is achieved in understanding. Understand others and understand yourself, but know that one cannot go without the other. We walk together, or we do not walk at all. Fuck ice. This video is a discussion on how I personally had to find forgiveness in myself to repair some of the negative thought processes that Christianity, growing up Christian, inspired in me. It would miss the point, though, to disparage Christ's ideals as a whole, though no church will ever have my life. I had a conversation with a friend of mine recently, a Catholic and one of the most intelligent women I know. She told me with conviction that one of the best things a priest has ever told her is this: one of the greatest sins we commit is forgetting that we are forgiven. I have a hard time believing that that ideal is much different than how I live now. If you find comfort in Christ, I am the last person to tell you that's wrong. But if you find yourself leveraging your identity as a Christian to hate, judge, outcast, or dominate, I know no amount of scripture I could quote could convey how lost you are. I wish you luck and a shepherd on your way home.